Desperate single mom's heartwarming message discovered by Millionaire. The life-changing knock that altered everything. Sarah was tired. Bone deep, soul-weary tired. Juggling 2 jobs while raising her 8-year-old son, Max, felt like trying to keep a dozen plates spinning in the air. One wrong move, and they'd all come crashing down. Each morning began before the dawn, where she'd brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead and throw her trusty son's lunch into an old brown paper bag. It was just her and Max against the world. And some days, the world felt awfully big. Life in their small Midwest town was filled with struggles. The relentless weight of bills pressed against her chest like a creeping shadow. The local diner was a second home, the smell of greasy fries ever present in her clothes. At the grocery store, she scanned groceries with a tight-lipped smile, all while keeping an eye out for sneers from those who looked down on her situation. Max was a bright light in all this murkiness, a wise beyond his years little man with a heart of gold. On an overwhelming afternoon, after tirelessly bouncing between shifts, Sarah sank down on her cramped living room couch, overlooking a pile of bills that loomed like a mountain. The rent was due again. Frustration bubbled up inside her, and she reached for her favorite pen and a scrap of paper. With tears stinging her eyes, she poured her heart out in a letter to Max, detailing her dreams for a brighter future, filled with love, laughter, and opportunity. "Every sacrifice I make is for you," she wrote, her hand trembling with emotion but determined. "You deserve the world, my sunshine." Unbeknownst to her, the note would find its way into the hands of Jack, a wealthy entrepreneur, unaware of the impact his life choices had on those outside his privileged bubble. Flicking through business emails at a quaint cafe as he passed through town, he stumbled upon Sarah's letter, tucked inside a book he'd been flipping through. Her words struck him like thunder, resonating within a heart that once knew simplicity. In that moment of serendipity, he felt a pull to help this stranger while grappling with the guilt of his own fortune. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the days wore on, Jack's anonymous support trickled into Sarah's life, in the form of groceries paid for, and rent covered, all without a name attached. While it eased her burdens, it also deepened her pride's unease. "Am I worth this kindness? Do I deserve it?" She would ponder sleeplessly, her chest tight and thoughts racing. Meanwhile, Max, unaware of the outside help, returned home with tears in his eyes one day after being bullied for the worn clothes that barely fit. Broken-hearted, Sarah wrapped him in her arms, the weight of her own struggles crashing over her like waves against a rocky shore. It was a cycle of despair that crumbled her spirit, igniting the flicker of hope Jack had ignited. But just when it seemed they might find a way to soothe one another's wounds, fresh challenges arose, threatening to shatter the fragile connection they'd begun to form. A world far removed from their experiences loomed just around the corner. Sarah wiped the tears from her eyes, holding Max close as the weight of his hurt pressed heavily against her. After a moment of silence, he whispered, "Mom, I just want to fit in." That single plea pierced through her, deeper than all the worries that plagued her nights. She wanted to promise him everything would get better, but how could she when each day felt like a climb up a treacherous mountain? With a heavy heart, Sarah pulled away just enough to look into Max's eyes. "You're perfect just the way you are. Remember that, okay?" The determined smile she plastered on her face filled their cramped living room with a flicker of warmth, but the shadows from overdue bills and the dull ache of upcoming expenses still loomed large. The hum of the old heater filled the space as she thought about the letters. The letters she wrote to Max, detailing the dreams she held for him. With Jack's kindness lifting the burden just a bit, she found herself contemplating what kind of future she could truly create. What if she started showing Max that their life could be more than just survival? With each gentle nudge of hope, Sarah began to seek opportunities. She started looking for community programs that might lead to higher-paying jobs or scholarships for Max. Meanwhile, Jack silently navigated through his own struggles, conflicted by his wealth and the words of Sarah that echoed in his mind. He often revisited that cafe, reading and rereading her letter. As weeks passed, he struggled with thoughts of how to reveal his support. The thought of coming forward felt daunting. If he introduced himself, would she see him as just another wealthy guy swooping in to save her? He didn't want to be some kind of savior, he wanted to bridge their worlds in a way that felt real. With renewed determination, Sarah took Max to the local park one Saturday morning. The sun brightened the sky, and children ran about, laughter adorning the crisp air. Max's face lit up as he kicked a soccer ball into the nearby goal. Here in these moments, Sarah felt her own heart swelling. She wanted him to collect these tiny victories, to feel supported and cherished. But just as she felt the atmosphere shifting, the world was starting to feel a little lighter. A letter arrived that would shake them both to their cores. It was from the landlord, his reasoning just as curt as his writing: rent increases next month. Please prepare accordingly. Heart sinking, Sarah grappled with the implications. She felt the walls closing in again. A surge of panic welled within her as she glanced over at Max, still free-spirited on the field. How could she tell him? Would this be another disappointment he'd have to face? As she stood there, vulnerability intermingled with hope, Jack pulled up in his sleek car, his heart racing. He had finally decided to confront the fear of stepping into her world. What he didn't know was how this moment would alter both their fates, intertwining their stories in ways neither had ever imagined. Just as she turned to call Max over, Jack stepped forward, the resolve in his heart mirroring the weight of his purpose. Sarah, he started, taking in the sight of her, the mother trying to shield her son. His words hung in the air, ready to unlock a new chapter of their lives, but what would they reveal? Sarah, Jack's voice was low, steady, but it trembled with unspoken intentions. She turned to him, the summer sun casting soft shadows across her features. For a heartbeat, the world around them melted away. Children laughed in the distance, blissfully unaware of the struggles lingering in the adult hearts nearby. Did you need something? Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Doubt clouded her thoughts like a storm threatening to break. Jack took a cautious step forward, suddenly aware of how much she had been trying to hold everything together. The crease lines on her forehead told stories he wished he could erase. I just saw you both here, and it reminded me of something important. What is it? She asked, curiosity mingling with caution. Max, still kicking the ball, glanced over occasionally, sensing the intensity in the air. I've been thinking a lot about that letter, Jack admitted, taking a deep breath. What you wrote, it struck me harder than I expected. I want to help. Help. The word nestled uncomfortably between them, as if he had cast a stone into a tranquil pond. Ripples of vulnerability began to stir in Sarah's heart. Help how? She was not ready to accept charity. I know it's complicated, but your courage is inspiring. I can't just stand by and not do anything. I want to make sure you and Max have a stable place to live. His offer hung in the air, and for a moment, the bird seemed to pause in mid-flight. Sarah felt her chest constrict. Jack, I don't want to put you in a position where it feels like you're responsible for us. Her words stumbled over pride and fear. I'm not trying to save you, he said firmly. I want us to work together. If I can ease some burdens without it feeling transactional. His eyes softened as he looked at her, creating a bond fueled by hope and honesty. You deserve more than just surviving day by day. Max had stopped playing, sensing the weight of their exchange. He walked over, his small hands on his hips. What is going on? The innocence in his voice broke the tension. Sarah's heart clenched. She had to protect her son from this world of adult responsibilities, but that impulse was challenged by Jack's sincerity. Just talking about how we can make life a little easier, Jack replied, kneeling so he could meet Max's curious gaze. I want you both to have every chance to thrive. Max tilted his head, a frown knitting his brow. But, I don't need help. I just want us to be okay. Her chest tightened. How could she explain to her son that being okay wasn't always enough? Sometimes we all need a little help to feel okay, Jack said gently, his voice warm. And reaching out for it makes us stronger, not weaker. These words landed between them, striking a chord of understanding. Yet, Sarah felt her heart racing. Could she trust Jack? Would accepting help turn into a burden for him? The park brightened with laughter, and a breeze kissed her cheek, as if trying to push her toward an answer. But the decision weighed heavily on her. Her practicality battled against her desire for change. She wanted to believe in this new possibility but felt the weight still pressing down. As she looked into Jack's earnest eyes, harmony and hope danced at the periphery of her doubts, shimmering like a mirage. "Let me think about it," she finally whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. The moment felt like a hinge swinging toward something unexpected and life-altering. He nodded, respect etched onto his face. "I'll be here," he said softly, backing away but leaving doors wide open. Max squeezed her hand, and they walked together, a world of possibilities unfolding around them. But in the quiet of her heart, something whispered, what would happen if she dared to embrace the chance for support? Would it change everything, or would she lose the fragments of control she clung to so tightly? As night fell, Sarah found herself staring at the blank walls of their home, the shadows deepening. She felt the pull of hope, yet the fear of uncertainty lingered. What was she truly ready to risk for the sake of her and Max's future? The question buzzed in her mind, demanding an answer. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, the day's events replaying in her mind like a slow-motion film. Jack's words echoed in her ears, stirring a mix of emotions. She hugged her knees to her chest, feeling the weight of doubt pressing down hard. Could she really do this? Accepting help felt like admitting defeat. But deep down, a part of her craved more than just the day-to-day grind. Max's laughter floated down the hallway, piercing through her thoughts like sunbeams breaking through clouds. He was so young, so innocent, unaware of the burdens his mother was trying to manage. The thought of reaching out to Jack gave her a flicker of hope but also a flutter of panic. What if her choice cost her son's happiness? "Mom!" Max's voice called, breaking her reverie. "Can we have ice cream for dinner?" His cheerful demand drew a rare smile from her, hauntingly bittersweet against the knot in her stomach. "How about just a scoop or two?" she replied, finally rising from the bed, focusing on the moment instead of what loomed ahead. As she opened the freezer, the chill felt refreshing against her warm skin. Sarah scooped generous amounts of vanilla into 2 bowls, the creamy texture reminding her of simpler times. "Yay!" Max cheered, diving into his bowl with zeal, ice cream smudging his cheeks. Seeing him so carefree melted a layer of her tension. As they sat together at the kitchen table, she decided to be present, if only for tonight. "Do you remember the time we made those ridiculously big sundaes?" Max asked between mouthfuls. "We had ice cream everywhere." Sarah laughed, recalling the sticky chaos. "Yeah, I think I found ice cream in places I didn't even know were possible." Max's giggle lit up the moment. Their connection always brought her back to what truly mattered. But beneath that laughter, the prompt of their reality loomed heavy like the clouds before a storm. As they finished up, Sarah felt her phone buzz against the table. Just a reminder about bills to pay. It was the constant reminder of her responsibilities creeping in, stealing the moment of joy. She sighed and pushed the phone away, telling herself to deal with it later. "Hey, Max," she said suddenly, needing a change of topic, "what do you want to be when you grow up?" He thought for a moment, his big blue eyes serious. "A superhero. I want to help everyone." Her heart swelled. "You already are a superhero to me, you know that." "Yeah. But I want to wear a cape," he replied earnestly, his innocence alight in the dark. What she wouldn't give to have the same hope he radiated. He was fearless in a way that felt foreign to her now. She envied that certainty. What would it take for her to feel like a superhero too? As the night settled in and Max climbed into bed, she tucked him in tight. Sleep well, bud. Tomorrow's a new day. Good night, Mom, he murmured, his eyelids fluttering, the weight of the day lifting as dreams awaited him. In her solitude, Sarah walked quietly to her bedroom, the darkness wrapping around her like a thick blanket. She picked up her phone again, not for reminders, but for hope. She scrolled to Jack's contact, her heart racing, the fear gripping her. With a deep breath, she typed a message, "Can we talk tomorrow? I've been thinking about your offer." The send felt monumental, free-falling into the unknown. Would he truly understand? Would she be brave enough to show him her vulnerabilities? As she lay there, the silence enveloped her. A cacophony of thoughts swirled. What if she said yes? Before sleep could take her, another message pinged. In the glow of her phone, she saw Jack's reply lighting up the screen, "Absolutely. I'll make time. Looking forward to hearing from you." With her heart racing and a mixture of fear and excitement bubbling inside her, she whispered to the darkness, "What have I just done?" A new chapter awaited her, one filled with uncertainty and the hope of change. What if this leap of faith was the beginning of something beautiful, or the biggest mistake she'd ever made? The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, flooding Sarah's room with warmth. She blinked against the brightness, her heart still fluttering from the moment she had taken that leap of faith the night before. She glanced at her phone, half expecting another message from Jack, but the screen was silent. The stillness felt heavy, almost oppressive, yet there was a sliver of excitement that ran through her. Max's voice drifted in from the bathroom, singing off-key to one of his favorite cartoons. Listening to him brought a smile to her face. His carefree spirit was a stark contrast to the whirlwind of thoughts swirling inside her. She couldn't help but wonder what today might bring. Unearthing the courage to talk to Jack was only the first step, but what if it opened a door she couldn't close? "Mom. I need help brushing my teeth," Max called, breaking through her contemplations. "Coming," she answered, pushing herself up from the bed. She shuffled into the bathroom to find Max standing on a stool, toothpaste smeared around his mouth, grinning as if he was the happiest child in the world. "Good job, champ. You're really getting the hang of it," she praised, ruffling his hair. The small moment was a reminder of why she had to fight for herself, to show Max that asking for help wasn't a weakness, but a strength. After breakfast, she decided to visit the library. It was a place she always found grounding, a refuge where worries seemed to fade in exchange for stories that transported her away. She clutched Max's hand tightly as they walked, her nerves still twinging in the back of her mind. Once they arrived, Max raced to the children's section, diving into a pile of colorful books. Sarah wandered through the aisles, her fingers grazing the spines, each title whispering possibilities. An idea struck her. What if she could write her own story? Perhaps sharing her journey might help others who felt just as lost. As she flipped through a book about personal growth, she felt an urge to capture her own experiences. Each line she read, every quote she took in, stirred something deep within her. What if she channeled her fears, her hopes, her story into words? She could create a space not only for her growth but as a guide for others, shining a light on the importance of vulnerability. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her back to reality. It was a message from Jack. "Hey, just checking in. Can't wait to chat later." A mix of anticipation and dread rushed over her. She knew they'd be talking soon, but now she felt different, empowered even. This was her moment, not just to accept help but to step into her own strength. "Mom," Max called, waving a book in the air. "Look. It's a huge dinosaur. Perfect. Let us read it together." She smiled, her heart swelling with pride. Maybe this day wasn't only about her first conversation with Jack but also teaching her son that dreams and fears can coexist. As the afternoon slipped away, thoughts of what she'd say to Jack circled in her mind, a blend of hope and anxiety coiling in her stomach. What if he saw her as weak? What if he understood? Hours later, when the time came, Sarah found herself pacing the living room, hands clammy and mind racing. She could still back out, the thought crawled in, but deep down, she knew that wasn't an option anymore. With trembling fingers, she typed her response, "I'm ready," but before she could press send, the doorbell rang, startling her. What if it was him? Fear and excitement rippled through her as she cautiously approached the door. She opened it, prepared to face whatever awaited her, unaware that this moment would reshape everything she thought she knew. Was she prepared for what waited on the other side? As Sarah opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. Standing there, with a hesitant smile and a bouquet of wildflowers in hand, was Jack. He looked different in the afternoon light. His eyes were softer, more genuine. The tension from her earlier worries faded as she took in his presence, but a fresh wave of anxiety washed over her. "Hey, Sarah," he said, his voice warm, yet edged with uncertainty. "I wasn't sure if you'd be home. I thought we could talk in person." Her heart raced. The weight of his words pulled at her. This was not the phone call she anticipated. She stepped aside, motioning for him to enter. "Yeah, of course. I was just about to," she trailed off, unsure how to finish the sentence, uncertain of her next move. Jack stepped in, taking in her cozy living room and the scattered toys from Max's playtime. The warmth and familiarity of home suddenly felt vulnerable. "Max is in the other room," she added, nervously brushing her hair back. "He'll be out in a second." Jack's gaze softened as he glanced at the chaos of toys, but he quickly trained his eyes back on her, honing in on the moment. "I was really hoping to see you," he admitted, his voice low as if they shared a secret. "Me too," she confessed, feeling the truth of her words fill the space between them. "Can we sit?" They moved to the couch, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Jack placed the flowers on the coffee table, a splash of color against the wood, an offering of beauty amidst uncertainty. Sarah's eyes flickered to them, anchoring her thoughts as she settled into a more comfortable position. "I got your message," he began, leaning forward slightly. "I know it's a big deal for you. I want you to know that you're not alone in this." The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her heart, warming her insides. She exhaled slowly, letting her nerves lose their grip. "We all carry a lot, don't we?" Just before she could continue, Max bounded into the room, eyes bright like the summer sky. "Mom! Look at the dinosaur. Can we read now?" He paused, noticing Jack. "Who is that?" "Hi, buddy." Jack grinned, his smile effortless. "I'm Jack. I'm a friend of your mom's." Max seemed to size him up for a moment before flashing a toothy grin in response, entirely unbothered by the adult conversation. "Cool. Are you here to read too?" Sarah couldn't help but laugh, the tension easing just a bit more. "Not quite, sweetie. Jack and I are just talking." "Okay, but dinosaurs are way more fun," Max declared confidently, darting to grab the book from the stack. Jack watched the little boy with amusement, the walls around Sarah's heart beginning to chip away. "I think I'd like to hear about dinosaurs later," he said, glancing at Sarah. "Maybe we can all read together." A swell of hope burst within Sarah at the thought. It wasn't just about her anymore or her fears. Maybe openness created connections, not walls. Togetherness felt good, and she required that in her life. "Yeah, I'd like that," she said, her voice steadying. They settled into the comfortable chatter about dinosaurs and superheroes. As laughter echoed in the room, a part of her began to wonder if this moment could turn into something beautiful, a new beginning. But as her heart healed, another thought loomed. Would she dare to let Jack into the deeper parts of her life? Her gaze drifted to the flowers. They were vibrant but also fragile, an image of what her future could become. Could she trust him with her whole heart? Just as the warmth grew stronger, Max tugged at her arm. "Mom! When are we going to read?" "Right now," she said, excitement bubbling up. But just then, her phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a message that would change everything. The words on the screen felt like a warning and promise combined. "We need to talk about what you shared." Just as her heart sank, she met Jack's curious gaze. Did he see the fear reflecting back at her? "Sarah, what is it?" Jack asked, concern breaking through his happy expression. Caught between a moment of joy and an impending storm, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. How could she ever find the right words? Her pulse quickened, the sweet sound of laughter still echoing around her as her gaze clung to Jack, his familiar warmth now laced with an unknown tension. She could feel the pull of two worlds colliding, the joy of the moment with Jack and the looming shadow of urgency from her phone. It was almost dizzying, the way emotions rushed through her. It's just," Sarah fumbled, struggling to keep her voice steady. "It's a message from my therapist." The word felt heavy, almost foreign on her tongue. Jack's eyes darkened slightly, concern etched in his features. What do they want? There it was, the weight of vulnerability pressing on her chest. Sarah could either share the fears lurking behind her heart or shield herself from Jack. But as Max bounced to her side, filled with excitement about dinosaurs, she felt torn between a need for honesty and the desire to protect her son and herself. "Just some advice about parenting," she finally said, hoping the brevity would conceal the deeper issues. The last thing she wanted was to tumble too far into the tangled mess of her life, where everything felt fragile and precarious. Max tugged at her shirt, excited. "Mom! Can we read the dinosaur book now? It's a really cool one." Caught in the turmoil of her own thoughts and her son's contagious enthusiasm, Sarah took a deep breath. "All right, buddy," she said, forcing a smile, grateful for the distraction. Jack straightened slightly, shifting focus as Max placed a dog-eared book in front of Sarah. "I think I could use some dinosaur knowledge myself," he said, attempting to lighten the atmosphere. "Yeah. This one's the best," Max exclaimed, flipping through the pages, his bright blue eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. As Sarah began to read, the words slipped from her lips, mixing with Max's little squeals and Jack's occasional chuckles. For those moments, the walls of uncertainty crumbled away. Laughter filled the room, wrapping them all in a comfortable cocoon. Yet, in the back of her mind, the message lingered ominously. It reminded her that honesty was key but also terrifying. The story of T-Rex made way for Stegosaurus, pulling them into a world of whimsy, but still, Sarah found herself glancing at her phone. Would she respond? What if the message held more harsh truths? Suddenly, Max leaned into her, his small voice whispered, "Mom. Are we going to be okay?" The question hit Sarah like a wave, freezing her momentarily. She flashed a reassuring smile. "Of course, sweetheart. We're always okay." But were they? Every time Sarah told herself that, she hoped it was enough to shield them from the storm hiding just beyond the horizon. Jack caught her eye, a subtle question dancing in his expression. "Sarah, what will you do?" Just then, the weight of the world felt heavy once more. Before she could finish, another message pinged on her phone, buzzing insistently as if echoing the trepidation that coursed through her veins. She reached for it, suddenly breathless, knowing that the answer to her dilemma lay behind that small screen. "Mom?" Max asked, sensing her shift. "Just 1 second." Her fingers hesitated above the screen, anticipation and dread swirling together. She felt Jack's steady gaze on her, the warmth of his presence a balm against the chaos. What if the next word she read would force her to reveal everything, all her fears, all her hopes? And would Jack still be there when the dust settled? With an urgency tightening her chest, she tapped the screen, ready to confront the unseen storm ahead. But what she didn't expect was the name that stood out among the rest. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she stared at the screen, the name flashing ominously back at her. It was a name she hadn't expected to see, not now, not at all. "Mom." Max's voice broke through the fog of her thoughts. He was perched on the edge of the couch, eyes wide with a sort of innocent concern that only a child could muster. "Yeah, buddy." She forced herself to tear her gaze away from the device, but it was almost like dragging her eyes from a car wreck. "Who is that?" Max leaned in closer, trying to peek at the screen. "It's nobody you need to worry about." The lie felt sharp in her throat. She could feel Jack's gaze burning into her, an unspoken question lingering between them. His brow furrowed in concern, but his mouth remained a tight line, as if he was afraid to pry further. Their fleeting moment of joy seemed to hang in limbo now. Sarah Jack's tone was low and composed, but there was an undercurrent of urgency. "You can tell me." His words dangled in the air like a promise of understanding, but anxiety clawed at her insides. She had always worn her heart delicately for fear of shattering it. She couldn't let Jack see the cracks, not when everything between them felt so fragile yet so promising. With shaking hands, Sarah unlocked her phone and opened the message, heart racing as she did. The text was brief but powerful, an accumulation of weight that seemed to press on her chest. "I can help you, Sarah. You know where to find me." Her mind raced back to the last time she had seen Brian, the source of her swirling emotions. Their relationship had been a mix of unbearable love and aching distance. An offer of help that felt more like a noose tightening around her already fragile state of mind. "Sarah." Jack's voice was softer now, a hint of what felt like compassion tethered to the worry in his eyes. She sighed, glancing at Max, who was now lost in a world of colorfully illustrated dinosaurs. Whatever turmoil lay ahead, she wanted to protect him from the storm. "It's just someone from my past." Asking for something, she stammered, the words landing heavily between them. Jack shifted, his expression growing serious. "Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it?" What was she supposed to say? That she felt trapped between the life she had built and the one she might have if she dared to untangle the old threads? Max suddenly jumped up and waved the dinosaur book in the air. "Mom! Can we start over? Read it again from the beginning?" "Right. Let us do it." Sarah smiled, noticing how wonderfully innocent Max's requests were, keeping them grounded in the here and now. She tried to immerse herself in the story as she flipped to the first page, but everything felt muted, words blurring together. Jack stayed close, his body slightly turned towards her, as if he was ready to catch her if she fell. He was still there, solid and unwavering. A cacophony of excitement erupted from Max, and Sarah forced herself to join in, giving an added enthusiasm to the adventure through the land of dinosaurs, but as she read about the great T-Rex, her heart quietly battled with unwanted thoughts. What if Brian wanting to help meant untangling everything she had thought she had overcome? As the tale unfolded, Sarah's face melted into smiles, yet inside, her heart churned. She sensed that clarity was coming, but at what cost? When the last page turned, she felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. Max cheered, his tiny voice ringing through the room. "That was the best story ever." Jack smiled at both of them, and for a moment, it felt like they were wholly a family. But Sarah knew that soon she would have to confront the past or risk it haunting her future. "Listen, Sarah," Jack started again, a new edge to his voice. "You need to decide if being honest about your past is worth the risk. Especially with Max in the picture." His words sank deep, echoing inside her mind, and she realized Jack was right. Decisions circulated like fireflies in her heart, bright but fleeting. Just then, her phone buzzed again, cutting through the moment, the screen lighting up with another message. With dread pooling in her stomach, Sarah knew it wouldn't stop until she opened it. What's next? She thought, battling the urge to escape from the truth sitting in her hands. Would she have the courage to face it before the sun set on this fragile moment, or would the weight of the past finally pull her under? The room was alive with Max's laughter, but Sarah felt like a balloon full of air, ready to burst. She glanced at Jack, whose steady gaze encouraged her to stay anchored. The words still hovered in front of her, "I can help you, Sarah. You know where to find me." The screen illuminated her thoughts, showing the ghost of a life she once lived. Brian was an echo, a siren call to a past where she had felt seen, loved, and utterly lost. The anger, love, and anguish were intertwined like ivy on an old house, hard to pull apart without damaging the structure underneath. Mom. Max's small hand tugged at her sleeve, pulling her back to the present. Did you hear me? She blinked at him, guilt washing over her. What was that, sweetie? Can we have spaghetti for dinner? Please. His eyes sparkled, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. Spaghetti sounds perfect, she replied, forcing a smile. It was easier to focus on the mundane dinner plans than the tumultuous waves roiling in her mind. Jack cleared his throat, his eyes softening. I'll help you with dinner. Thanks, she murmured, grateful for the team effort. As the adults moved around the kitchen, the air filled with the rich aroma of olive oil and garlic, providing a temporary reprieve from the tidal wave of emotions threatening to crash down on her. What's up with you today? Jack whispered to Sarah as he chopped vegetables. You seem distracted. Just things. She hesitated, looking away. Trusting Jack with the rawness of her heart felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. I got a message from someone I didn't expect. He stopped chopping. Who? Brian, she admitted, the name tasting bitter on her tongue. He says he wants to help. Jack paused, absorbing her words. Help? With what? I don't know, she said, her voice quivering slightly. Maybe he wants to talk about us. The past. It's complicated. Complicated is an understatement, he said, his voice laced with concern. Is it something you need to consider? Or something you just want? Maybe both, Sarah whispered, her heart racing. I'm worried about Max. I don't want any of this to affect him. He has his own world, his own joys. As if summoned, Max yelled from the other room. Mom, can you come help me with this puzzle? Sure. Sarah called back, relieved for an excuse to escape the heavy conversation. I'll be right there. She rushed to Max, finding him with a tray filled with colorful pieces scattered everywhere, completely immersed in his own little adventure. For a moment, watching him gave her a sense of peace, a reminder that innocence could exist even in chaos. Max looked up at her, straw blonde hair stuck up in wild tufts. Look, Mom. I can almost finish this dinosaur. That's amazing, buddy. Let's put the tail on. The puzzle came together in front of them, just as Sarah wished her life might. She grasped each piece, imagining how all the broken parts of her story could fit if she just allowed herself to see it that way. As the last piece clicked into place, excitement flickered in Max's eyes. See? We did it. Sarah grinned, feeling the weight lift, if just for a moment. But memories of Brian lingered like shadows at the edges of her mind, refusing to fade away. Jack joined them, leaning against the door frame, a quiet observer. Looks like a masterpiece, he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. Sarah locked eyes with him across the room, each of them grasping the implications of what lay ahead. Could she really face Brian again? Or would the past rip the seams of the life they had carefully woven together? The phone buzzed again, insistent and heavy. She couldn't avoid it any longer. Mom, what's wrong? Max's voice drew her attention back to the present. Nothing. Just let us finish this puzzle. But deep down, dread pulsed through her veins. As she reached for her phone once more, she felt the enormity of the choice looming over her. Would she open the next message and peel back the layers of hurt, or choose to protect the fragile happiness they'd built? Who else has messages, Mom? Max chirped, bringing her back to his delightful innocence. Sarah hesitated, feeling the chorus of indecision surrounding her. Just some old friends, she replied, forcing a smile, but deep within her heart, shadows danced a storm, and clarity awaited. Each moment stretched and pulled, and as she glanced at Jack, searching for a thread of reassurance, she knew the time was coming when she'd have to decide if she'd confront her past, or let it loom in silence. Was that fear driving her to seek closure, or was it the hope of regaining control of a narrative long lost? And the biggest question of all hovered like a question mark: what would her next move be? The sun poured through the kitchen window, wrapping the room in golden light as Sarah steadied her breath. Her phone lay on the table like a loaded gun, the outline of Brian's text looming large, calling for her attention again. Jack stood near the counter, his presence steady and reassuring. "Sarah? You all right?" Jack's voice broke through her whirlwind of thoughts, pulling her focus back to him. She hesitated before nodding, but she could sense the worry in his eyes. "I have some things I need to figure out," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of the message threatened to crush her under its burden, but there was more at stake than her own heart. Max's happiness hung in the balance. Max, oblivious to adult complexities, painted their kitchen with excited chatter. "Mom, can we make spaghetti superheroes?" He giggled, referencing their latest game as he playfully tossed around some dried pasta. Sarah's heart ached at his innocence. Shouldn't he have to deal with her past? Jack laughed, lightening the moment. "Of course. I think superhero spaghetti sounds like just what we need." His smile spread warmth through the kitchen, gently stitching together the loose ends of Sarah's fraying resolve. The rhythm of dinner preparations gave her a chance to breathe, yet the buzzing of her phone nagged at her. "Jack," she took a chance, turning toward him, daring to share the weight that had pressed on her for far too long. "It's about Brian. He reached out. He wants to talk." The light dimmed slightly in Jack's eyes as he processed her words. She felt guilt dance in her stomach, a familiar twinge of fear creeping back in. Is he reaching out to help, or does he want something else? Jack's voice was steady, but she could hear the undertone of protectiveness. "I don't know," she admitted, her heart fluttering. "It could be anything or nothing. But I feel like I have to respond." The tension settled heavily, as if they were both holding their breath, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. "Just promise me this," Jack said, his tone serious yet warm. "Whatever you decide, do it for yourself and Max. Not for him." The plea was soft but packed a punch. She nodded, the flicker of insight igniting within her. It was a reminder that her choices mattered. The aroma of simmering garlic filled the air as she diverted her gaze to Max, laughing joyfully as he danced around the kitchen. "Can we add some toppings? Maybe broccoli for super strength?" His laughter echoed like a melody. "Absolutely. Let us make it the mightiest spaghetti ever," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with love. But as she turned back to the stove, her phone buzzed again, jolting her focus like a lightning bolt. The message was from Brian, and her heart raced at the thought of facing what it might hold, but then she took a plunge into the laughter and chaos of her kitchen. "Let us do this," she exclaimed, tossing spaghetti into boiling water. "Superheroes need all the fuel they can get." Dinner unfolded like a beautifully woven tapestry. More laughter, more love. Max shared jokes, and they crafted silly superhero names for each ingredient. Jack joined in, filling the air with camaraderie, his warm eyes softening as they shared glances, a silent agreement that they were on this journey together. As they sat down to eat, the food steaming before them, Sarah felt a quiet determination form in her heart. Perhaps she didn't have to have it all sorted out right this moment. Maybe she could handle the chaos swirling within. It was clear now, real superheroes faced their shadows, but they also embraced their light. "Mom," Max said suddenly, breaking into her thoughts, "do you think being a superhero means having a hard past?" She froze, the simplicity of his question reaching deep within. "I think it sometimes does, buddy. But it's what we do with that past that makes us strong." She looked over at Jack, whose understanding gaze reminded her that she wasn't alone in this. Jack smiled gently, a knowing warmth flaring in his eyes, and for the first time, she didn't feel the crushing weight of loneliness. Together, they chewed through their concerns, savoring every bite of spaghetti without shying away from the truth that sentimentally sat below. "Do you think our past teaches us how to be really good superheroes?" Max asked, excitement bubbling over. "Yes," Sarah responded, her heart soaring. Those experiences build us into who we are now. And they can inspire us to help others too. Her words blossomed with hope, and the thought of sharing their story fueled a spark within her one she couldn't ignore any longer. Later that night, with Max tucked in bed and the house quiet, all she could think about was confronting her past in a way that felt true to her. She picked up her phone, heart racing. It was now or never. The text awaited her response like a door standing ajar, promising possibility. "I'm ready to talk, Brian," she typed, her fingers trembling slightly. The moment she hit send, a rush of relief washed over her. At the same time, her mind drifted back to Jack and Max, how they deserved a chance at a brighter future, one woven from truths instead of shadows. Each sentence felt like knots untangling in her mind, freeing her hopes from the gripping fear that had held her captive for too long. The next morning, a new dawn broke, the horizon painted in soft hues of possibility. Sarah woke with a surprising lightness in her heart. Today wasn't just another day, it was a gateway. She was no longer just surviving the days but embracing them, fully aware she had the power within her to shape the story that lay ahead. In the kitchen, breakfast was filled with laughter once more, and the air brimmed with love. Their little family had begun to mend, and with every smile shared over pancakes, a newfound belief crystallized in Sarah's heart. Together, they would rise. The choice had been made. No longer did the past define her, instead, it would be the foundation that paved the way for an inspiring future, a tale of courage, openness, and love in the face of everything life tossed their way. Her heart swelled as Max stammered through pancake dinosaur names, and Jack leaned against the counter, smiling as he recounted his own childhood joys. The intertwining of their lives felt brighter than ever, and as the sun illuminated the home, Sarah knew it wasn't just her journey, it was theirs. Now, it was time to embrace what was meant to come. This is your moment. You need to subscribe now, so you never miss these exclusive stories. Hit like right now to feed the algorithm and support our journey. I want to know how you feel about this ending, so don't wait any longer. Comment below with your thoughts. And if this story touched your heart, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second.